Well, let's just start with some team news. Anthony Evans, how's he looking for the weekend?
He'll get a scan, I think, today at some point. And then once we get the findings back from that, we'll assess it and see where he is. I mean, we've taken him off as a precautionary measure, and hopefully we get some good news back once the scan's in.
Josh Grant?
Yeah, Josh had a little bit of an injection just to settle a few things down. Feels great today. Hopefully gets through training tomorrow, and that puts him in contention then for the weekend.
And injuries are one thing, but we're obviously concerned with Connor on Tuesday. How's he?
Yeah, fine. Strange, really. Obviously, seems to be, I've got to be careful because the last time when I spoke to you, I'm not allowed to share confidential medical conversations. So I always try and tell you the truth as much as I can, even if it gets me in trouble sometimes. He had a little bit of a chest infection from what I gathered, and that's just messed with his kind of biorhythms and caused that little bit of an issue. And because of what happened in and around the Rochdale game, we had to take precautionary measures. So wasn't ideal in terms of this disrupted our preparation a little bit. But the main thing is that Connor's fine. He's trained fully this morning, and it's hopefully a little bit of a lingering chest infection that's just made him feel a little bit poorly.
Yeah, without giving any confidences away, if it was serious at all, no doubt he'd have surgery or it would be treated right now. Is that one of the reasons it can be delayed for a few weeks and months?
Yeah, well, it was just based on the back of, as I said to you last time, and again, I'm not sure, where this sits, mainly the doctor and Stu be better answering it, but he just had an elevated heart rate. His heart rate just jumped a little bit and didn't settle for a prolonged period. As I said to you, that's why he came off in the Rochdale game. We didn't know whether that was due to a bang on the head or whatever. We thought it was. As it was, it turns out there's a little bit of a quite straightforward procedure that he can get done, which will probably put him out for 2, 3, 4 weeks, not major. And at some point, he's going to have to explore that. For us, when it flares up on Tuesday night, you instantly think back to what it was, and what we've subsequently found is he's had a little bit of a chest infection. They've been going around quite a bit in the group, and it's just made him feel a little bit unwell, and obviously because of what he'd had in the past, we have to take those precautionary measures. Everything's fine. As I say, he was good to go in the dressing room, but we didn't think it was the right thing to do. And also he's trained fully today, feels fine. So great news, really, really, really good news for us that all seems well with the big man.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not as serious as perhaps you thought it was on Tuesday night.
No, well, it's just in terms of what he'd had previously, and certainly his age and anything to do with your heart rate elevating. You've got to be double careful, especially in the current climate after you've seen, Christian Eriksen and so on and so forth. And I had a, friend of mine, teammate of mine, Mark Vivian Foe, who sadly, lost his life through. So anytime it's anything to do with anybody's heart, even if it isn't, in this case, it's a chest infection, but as soon as his heart rate elevation and obviously off the back of what happened in the Rochdale game, for me, it was just, we can't take any chances. There's no way in the world we can, until we're absolutely sure what's going on here, we can ask Connor to play football. And as it is, it turns out it was, very, very mild. He's absolutely fine. So I'd rather be that and relieved rather than, somebody go in and obviously something stupid or untoward happen.
And in terms of other team news, I'm assuming Ryan and Leon still not maybe available for the weekend.
Clark is back on the grass today, so he's joined in albeit a kind of supplemented part. He didn't do the full session because he's only his first couple of days back on the grass, moving quite well. I'm not sure whether the weekend will be a little bit too soon for him or not, but we'll assess that based on how he wakes up after training today, how he comes out of the gym this afternoon, and how he trains tomorrow, whether he'll be involved in the matchday squad.
And how soon before we might see John Nolan in the matchday squad?
Yeah, it's getting closer. We're just at the back end of kind of return to play. Nolo's chomping at the bit, but, because he's been out for quite a long period over the last, 12, 18 months, he's somebody that we want to, get the best out of. Then we've got to make sure that we we get him in a position where, you know, we don't just have him for 2 or 3 games, that he gets a prolonged period with us. So we're going softly with that. He's coming along really nicely. Weekend's game might be a little bit too soon for him, but certainly the next couple of games, you know, next couple of weeks, he'll be in contention.
How do you tackle the next few weeks? We talked about the schedule on Tuesday. You're playing basically 2 games a week for the next 6 weeks or so. Is it inevitable that sometimes even reluctantly you have to make some team changes? You made 5 changes on Tuesday. Is that just one of those things because you have to rest and rotate the squad sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, you want to pick the same team every week. You know, usually a good marker for success is same again, boys. The back of travelling to Sutton, quick turnaround again and back on the road and travelling up to Oldham. You know, the schedule coming. I felt, you know, Tuesday night, you just had a couple of bodies and I felt we could, you know, rotate a little bit. It didn't obviously go to plan because we didn't get the desired result. So, you know, you've got to manage the load of the group. But for me, you know, in reality, the amount of changes you make, as I say, when you're really successful, you know, you might make 1 or 2, and you know, on the Tuesday night game we were making 4, and obviously Connor's you know, chest has made that 5. So it's not ideal because that's, you know, pretty much half of your outfield players. So you don't want that disruption in there, especially when you've got very limited time on the grass, like we have in terms of the congestion and the travel. So, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, you'd have to judge it on a game by game basis. As I say, for me, the sooner I can get into the realms of little to no changes, it usually means that you're pretty much on your strongest team. You pretty much know what your best 11 is. And, you know, that'll mean if you're not changing that, you're getting results as well. But again, with that congestion in the fixture, it'd be foolish of me to think I was going to use the same 11 players for the next 6-7 week period. You know, the squad's going to be tested. It already has been in this period, whether it's via COVID or certainly just a run of games, and I expect it will be. And if we're going to be successful, it will be due to the you know, the group effort and the squad effort.
Presumably, you're a lot happier now with the squad than the side that took on Mansfield back on August the 7th. I just wonder why are things so much better now? I was actually looking at the starting lineup at Fieldmill, and there aren't too many faces that day who aren't still playing for you now. Is it maybe the squad's better? I mean, I was looking at your bench that day. Are you happy with the squad more than the starting 11 that you had that first day?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the process of getting better, and, you know, obviously we put ourselves under enormous pressure because we want to win every game and shoot up the table as quick as we can. But in reality, you've only had 2 transfer windows, and a large, you know, 50% of those transfer windows has been clearing out the dead wood pretty much. You know, it's not all been about who we're getting in and adding to the group. You know, we've been clearing out a lot of, as I say, dead wood. Where the group's at now, we're certainly moving in the right direction. You know, I always talk to you about kind of 10-game cycles, and I was only showing the guys this morning. I've got it written down here. Not for you, so I just had it written in my notebook. But, you know, I talked to you about the kind of 10-game cycles. The first block of 10 games, we won 3, drawn 1, and lost 6. Second block of 10 games, I think we were 3, 4, and 3. In these 7 games subsequently, I think we're 4, 2, and 1. Which is approaching the success profile that we're looking for, albeit, you know, Tuesday night was disappointing. But the group and the whole club is in a real uplift of positivity and confidence. You know, that's not going to turn us into Manchester City overnight, because we probably need a couple of billion quid to spend. But certainly, you know, we haven't gone, I think we went 6 unbeaten. I don't think in my time here we've done that. I don't think the feel-good factor has been as good as it has been in the new year as at any point, you know, last year. So we're all growing together, and the group's still growing, and we're not going to be perfect. You know where I think the group's at in terms of level of performance, which means I think there's a lot more to come out the group. And we're moving in the right direction in many regards as a football club. So I'm pleased with where we are, but we've got to keep pushing on and get better and get better and get better, because you know, that's what we want. We want to be the best, you know, version of Bristol Rovers that there's ever been. And, you know, we've turned, I think, a sinking ship around. We've turned a real juggernaut around. And, you know, we're starting to, you know, make progress in the right direction. And long may that continue.
And how do you approach Saturday? Because I stand to be corrected, Mansfield, quite possibly the form team in the whole Football League at the moment, 12 wins in 14 games. It's quite a run, isn't it? And you've got to try and stop that on Saturday.
Yeah. It's just another game. It'll be a tough game, as you say, they're in form, red off form. And again, we're in front of our fans, we're in our stadium. We've got the disappointment of Tuesday night. I've got some bears with sore heads out there who are desperate to get out back on the grass and put it right. And then, you get the benefit of the quick turnaround in between fixtures. We don't have a week to sulk, feel sorry for ourselves. We've got to get back on the horse relatively quickly. And, we've got 2 tough home fixtures coming up, obviously Saturday, Tuesday. And again, it's a challenge we're looking forward to, stopping an informed side, taking their momentum, but also continuing our uplift and continuing our positive trajectory.